Being in debt can be incredibly stressful, and many people do struggle to find a way out. Working in debt recovery myself was one of my busier roles. It's something that affects a lot of people, but I can tell you convincingly there are ways out, and there are some very effective legal options available that can help you take control of the situation and find a way out of debt for good. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to reveal to you both the legal and the non-legal options available in the UK that can help you wipe your debts for good. I'll run through the benefits and consequences of each option, as well as share some important new tips, tricks, and tools that you can take advantage of. My name is Cal Sandhu, your travel-sized, qualified legal advisor, here to help you explain and simplify life's most common legal challenges. Today, we're tackling the particularly tough topic of what to do if you can't pay your debts. So let's get started. Before we discuss your options, it's crucial to have a clear understanding of your financial situation. You need to accept and to acknowledge the full extent of your debts. So start by listing all your debts, including credit cards, loans, mortgages, and any other obligations. Note the amount owed, the interest rates, the minimum monthly payments. This will give you a comprehensive view of your financial landscape and help you then prioritize which debts to address first, because debt prioritization is a key technique which will be discussed later. Now, to help you do this, you are strongly advised to use a debt planning tracker, such as this one here by Happy Giraffe, which is honestly amazing and completely free, and I will link it in the description below. Now, before attempting the legal options that I'm going to outline to you in the video, it is important to first attempt the following 3 non-legal options first, as they possess the least adverse risk, and you do not have to go to the courts or get the courts involved. So try these non-legal options first. Number 1, negotiate with your creditor. If you're having trouble making payments, contact your creditors as soon as possible and actually try to speak to them about your situation. Explain your situation and ask if they can offer assistance, such as a reduced interest rate, lower monthly payments, or a temporary payment plan. Just explain that you are dealing with your debts and ask them to freeze interest and charges while you do this. Remember, not all creditors want to go through debt collection proceedings. It's long and it costs money, and they'll be willing to work with you to avoid default. Number 2 is creating a budget. So track your income and your expenses and find the areas where you can cut back. Allocate funds to the essential expenses first, like housing and utilities, mortgage, foods. Then prioritize debt repayments based on the interest rates. Remember, by knowing what your disposable income is, this will help reduce unnecessary spending. Unnecessary spending is one of the main reasons people can't get out of debt. And finally, number 3, a debt consolidation loan. You might want to consider a debt consolidation loan. This is a loan which allows you to pay off multiple debts with a single loan, ideally at a lower interest rate. This can really simplify your payments and potentially reduce the overall interest that you pay. It does, however, require good credit to qualify for favorable terms, and there is a risk of accumulating more debt if you don't address underlying spending issues. So now, if you've attempted these non-legal options and still had no success, it's time to consider your legal options. The 5 options that we're going to consider today are the individual voluntary agreement, the IVA, the debt relief order, the administration order, breathing space scheme, and of course, bankruptcy. Now, although they are all structured solutions, they each come with their own set of consequences, which I will go through. So let's take a look at the first, the individual voluntary agreement, the IVA. Now, an IVA is a legally binding agreement between you and your creditors to pay off your debts over a set period, typically 5 years. You'll need to find an insolvency practitioner to help you set up the IVA and to negotiate it with your creditors. Now, the pros of this is that the benefits include it being legally binding. So creditors can't change the terms or the interest, and the charges are usually frozen. However, the cons are that your credit rating will be affected for a period of 6 years, and if you fail to adhere to the terms, it could lead to bankruptcy. Now, the steps to this option are: 1, to find an insolvency practitioner; 2, the insolvency practitioner will assess your financial situation, including your income, expenses, and your debts; 3, the practitioner will help you draft a proposal to the creditors outlining how much you can afford to pay each month and for how long; and finally, the creditors meeting. Your creditors will meet and vote on the proposal that you've offered. If 75% agree, the IVA is approved and becomes legally binding on all creditors. So that's your first option. Now, the next option is what's called a debt relief order, a DRO. And this is for individuals with very little income and few assets. Now, it's a form of insolvency for people with debts under £30,000 and assets worth less than £2,000 and a disposable income of less than £75 a month. Now, it lasts for 12 months, during which creditors can't take action against you. The pros, and at the end of the debt relief order period, your debts are completely written off. The cons, however, are that your credit rating will be affected for 6 years and you must meet strict eligibility criteria. Now, the steps to apply for this DRO is to 1. Contact a debt advisor. Contact approved debt advisors such as Step Change, Citizens Advice or National Debt Line to discuss your situation and confirm eligibility. Then the application, your debt advisor will help you complete your DRO application and submit it to the insolvency service. Now, your third option is the administration order. Now, if you have debts under £5,000 and a county court judgment, the CCJ, made against you, you can apply for administration order. Now, this court order allows you to make one single monthly payment to the court, which then distributes it out to your creditors. And the pros of this include protection from further legal action by creditors and only having one monthly payment to manage. Now, the cons are it affects your credit rating and the court may take a percentage of your payment as a fee. Now, to apply for this order, the steps are 1. To check your eligibility, ensure that your total debts are less than £5,000 and that you have at least one CCJ against you. Then complete the administration order application form and submit it to your local county court. And finally, the hearing, the court will review your application and, if approved, issue an administration order. Now, as for our fourth option, we have the government-backed breathing space scheme. Now, if you're not ready to use the debt solution or you can't afford to right now, the government are offering a government-backed breathing space scheme, which could give you extra time if you're eligible. You could get 60 days of breathing space where your creditors can't contact you, can't take action against you or to make you pay or add interest and charges to your debts. Now, the pros are that it covers most debts, including credit and store cards and loans and overdrafts and arrears on household bills. There are no real cons to this breathing space scheme other than a prerequisite to the scheme is that you are getting debt advice. So you'll need to be getting debt advice from a qualified debt advisor first. They'll check all your debts to see if you're covered and if you're eligible. Finally, your last legal option is bankruptcy. Now, bankruptcy is usually considered as a last resort for managing unmanageable debts. And although there is maybe a huge stigma around the idea of filing for bankruptcy, it is a very common and very effective method of clearing your debts and starting fresh. It's a legal process where your assets are used to pay off your debts and your remaining debts are completely written off. The pros and benefits of this include clearing most of your debts and giving you a fresh slate to start with. The cons, however, is that it significantly impacts your credit rating for 6 years and you may lose valuable assets like your home or your car. Now, the steps to apply for bankruptcy are application, complete an online application form on the insolvency service website and pay the application fee. The fee is currently £680, so it's not cheap, but cheaper than your creditors are if you have no other option. Next, the adjudicator reviews your application and decides whether to approve it. If approved, you'll be declared bankrupt. Then finally, an official receiver is appointed to manage your bankruptcy. They'll take control of your assets and distribute them to your creditors. All right, so what have we learned so far? By now, you should be aware of both the 3 non-legal options you should take, including negotiating with creditors, budget tracking, and the debt consolidation loan. You should now also be aware of the legal options that you can apply for, depending on your current financial situation. And in the few final minutes that we've got left, we're going to look at some tips and tricks to help you manage your debt situation. Number 1, prioritize high interest debts. Focus on paying off debts with the highest interest rates first. So reduce the overall amount that you pay in interest and clear most of your expensive debts first. Because by focusing on high interest debts, you reduce the overall cost of your debt, freeing up more money to tackle the lesser debts. Number 2, prioritize your high priority debts, such as those debts that could mean you lose your home, have your energy supply cut off, or lose essential assets, or go to prison, for example, if you don't pay. They include things like rent, mortgage, and gas and electricity bills, council taxes, or court fines. Number 3, increase your income. Look for ways to increase your income however possible, such as taking on extra work, maybe taking on a part-time job, or selling an unused or necessary item like a car, or consider freelancing. Then use that additional income to pay down your debts faster. And the next important tip is to avoid taking on more debt. Resist the temptation to use credit cards and take out new loans while you're trying to pay off existing debts. This can make your situation worse. Don't use credit cards for non-essential purchases. If possible, stick to a cash-only budget for discretionary spending. You'll find it difficult to avoid using a credit card if you've still got them, carrying them all the time. So consider cutting them up or storing them in a place that makes it really inconvenient to access, and try and use a cash-only budget for your discretionary spending. All right, so that concludes the advice I can give you today. But remember, dealing with debt can be overwhelming, but knowing your options can help you take control of your financial situation. And whether you choose non-legal options like budgeting or negotiating with creditors or a debt management plan, or whether you choose legal options like I discussed, the IVA, the DRO, bankruptcy, it's important to act quickly and to seek the help that you need. Remember, there are resources available out there to help you and to take advantage of them. That concludes the video, guys. If you've liked or learned anything from this video, please do drop me a like, or maybe even subscribe to my channel to ensure that you have qualified legal advice in your back pocket at all times. Remember, while my content can and should be taken as reliable legal advice, content is not a substitute for specific legal advice to a particular situation and shouldn't be relied upon alone. That said, see you in the next video.